A shaky hand pressed the pen. The widow stared at the contract. Her lips moved, but no sound came. The dealer nodded, patient, waiting. She signed. Ink dragged uneven across the page. Gwen stood close. She held the folder tight. Her eyes flicked to the bottles. Numbers written neat, every label counted. The widow whispered, "It must be done." Gwen answered nothing. She only stacked the papers. Her fingers trembled. Clay appeared in the doorway. He smiled faint. "Wise decision," he said. His coat brushed the frame. His shoes tapped twice. The widow's hand still shook. "Supplies are low," she said. "Orders must be filled." Clay leaned forward. "You made the right choice." Gwen opened the ledger. Each cask matched a mark. But not all rows aligned. A gap showed. She frowned. "Something missing?" Clay asked. His voice was smooth. Gwen turned the page. "Perhaps nothing," she muttered. She closed the book. The widow gathered herself. "It will cover debts," she said. Her eyes moved to Clay. He nodded. "Exactly. Stability restored." Gwen prepared the labels. Fresh paper. Strong ink. She pressed each one firm. Neat rows grew. Clay's gaze lingered on her work. "You keep order well," he said. She forced a smile. Her fingers cramped, but she kept writing. The widow sat back. Her chest rose heavy. She whispered again, "It must be done." Clay folded the contract. He slipped it into his case. "Property secure," he said. His tone flat. "Final." Gwen heard, but did not reply. She fixed another label. The ink smudged faint. Clay looked around. His eyes measured space. Corners, shelves, walls. He noted everything. He tapped the case once. The widow rubbed her brow. "May God forgive me," she said. Clay said nothing. He glanced at Gwen. She lowered her head. The ledger closed with a snap. Papers locked away. Clay set the pen down. The widow stared at it, her face pale. Gwen gathered the bottles. She stacked them careful. Clay moved closer, his shadow long across the desk. He whispered, "Future secured." The widow did not answer. Her hand gripped the chair, her breath shallow. Gwen finished the last label. She pushed it aside. Clay stepped back, his eyes sharp. He touched the case again, his lips curved slight. He turned away. Silence held for a beat. Then wood shifted. A barrel slipped an inch. The wedge groaned loud. All three froze. The numbers refused to match. Gwen checked the ledger. She traced each line twice. Labels neat, but counts wrong. Her brow tightened. She whispered, "One barrel missing." The widow shook her head. "Impossible. You misread." Gwen checked again. The gap remained. Clay leaned against the frame, his voice soft. "What troubles you?" Gwen hesitated. She pointed at the row. "This cask isn't here," she said. Clay glanced down. "Clerical error. Nothing more." The widow nodded quickly. "Yes, nothing." Gwen swallowed. "But labels don't lie." She lifted one bottle. Date fresh. Yet cellar count short. Clay smiled faint. "You worry too much." He tapped the page. "Profit fixes all." The widow sighed. "We cannot argue," she said. "Supplies must look full." Her voice thin. Her hands folded tight. She would not meet Gwen's eyes. Gwen pressed further. "If buyers inspect, they'll see." Clay cut in sharp. "They won't inspect. Only trust records." His tone firm. Gwen's lips trembled. "Still, it feels wrong." Clay leaned closer. "Wrong is unpaid debt," he said. The widow flinched. Clay placed a bill on the desk. "Taxes, repairs, wages, all due." He tapped again. Do you pay them, or shall I? Silence. The widow lowered her gaze. We can't risk exposure, she said. Clay nodded fast. Then let me shield you. He spread his hands flat. Gwen clutched the ledger. Her nails dug. Deep, she whispered. But the Count. Clay raised his voice. No more doubts. The widow echoed him. No more doubts. Her tone was hollow. She turned away, her shoulders stiff. Gwen's eyes watered. Still, she obeyed. She stacked the labeled bottles, her breath quick. Her hand shook. Clay softened. Good girl, he said. He smoothed his tie. His eyes glinted. The widow did not look up. Pages closed. The ledger snapped shut. Clay tucked the bills away. He smiled at the widow. You chose survival, Gwen muttered. And lies. Clay heard but ignored. He opened his case. Inside, folded maps. She caught the corner of a plan. The widow pressed her lips. She murmured, We endure. Her voice cracked. Clay answered, We profit. The words struck cold. Miss Marple shifted in her chair, her eyes calm, steady. She had listened in silence. Her knitting paused mid-stitch. She said nothing yet. Gwen bent to gather scraps. Loose papers fell. One piece fluttered down. A torn label. It landed at Marple's feet. He smiled too quickly. Clay placed his case on the table. I bring a solution, he said. The widow leaned forward. Her hands tightened on her lap. An investment, Clay continued. Funds for expansion, repairs, stability. The widow's eyes flickered. She asked, At what cost? Clay spread his palms. No cost, a partnership. His voice smooth, quick. 50% share. My capital. Your heritage. The widow hesitated. Her lips pressed thin. Gwen frowned. She whispered, Half the estate. Clay turned to her. Young lady, half of something is better than all of nothing. His smile returned. The widow looked at the ledger, her breath uneven. Half, or survival. Clay nodded. You see it clearly. Marple shifted. Her eyes caught Gwen's. No words spoken, but warning hung silent. Gwen felt it sharp. Clay leaned close. You gain protection. No creditors knocking. He tapped the desk. Orders filled. Reputation saved. The widow swallowed. Twist broke the moment. A bill fell from Clay's case. It bore his signature. Dated 2 weeks earlier. Title, Advance Payment to Assessor. Gwen gasped. You paid him? Clay froze, only for a breath. Then he smiled again. Necessary preparation, he said. The widow's face stiffened, her voice flat. You bribed him. Clay waved it away. A fee, to ensure fairness. He leaned back. Details you need not carry. Marple's knitting stopped mid-loop. She stared, unblinking. The widow shook her head. This is risk. Clay pressed harder. Risk is already here. I offer rescue. His tone sharper now. Gwen whispered, or control. Clay ignored her. He pulled another paper. Figures high, written bold. Projected profit in 1 year. The widow's hands shook. She stared at the numbers. Could this be true? Clay leaned forward. It will be true with me. Marple spoke at last. Generosity often hides its teeth. Clay's eyes narrowed. Madam, I speak only business. But his fingers twitched. The widow sighed. I will think on it. Clay closed the folder. Do not delay. Offers expire. His voice sharp. He rose from the chair. He slid one paper into his case, folded careful, stamped bold on the front. Estate development. The barrels waited. Steps echoed on the stairs. 2 assessors entered. They carried ledgers. Pens already uncapped. The widow greeted faintly, her hands clasped, her voice low. "Please, be thorough." They nodded. Gwen stood near the racks. Her fingers gripped labels. She shuffled them fast. Sweat traced her temple. She kept her eyes down. Marple sat quiet. Her knitting moved steady, no question asked, no comment made, but her gaze missed nothing. Clay led the group. He gestured wide. All order maintained here. His tone rehearsed. His smile fixed. An assessor bent low. He checked a barrel mark. He muttered numbers. 17 here. Ledger says 16. He circled the row. Gwen flushed. "That's my error," she said. She slapped a label on quick. Her hand shook. The ink blurred. Clay covered smooth. Clerical mistake. Already corrected. The assessor shrugged. He scribbled a note. He moved on. The widow's voice wavered. "We keep strict accounts." She looked at Gwen. Gwen looked away. Her mouth pressed shut. Marple counted stitches. She lifted her eyes once. She studied the rows. One barrel leaned odd. Her brow twitched faint. Another assessor tapped the wood. He nodded slow. Sound casks. No leak. He wrote again. His eyes narrowed. Clay's hand pressed his pocket. He watched the notes. He said lightly, "All consistent." But his tone clipped. His jaw locked tight. Gwen whispered to herself, "Numbers don't match. They never do." The widow hissed back, "Quiet, child. Not now." Her lips trembled. The assessors kept writing. One flipped a page. "Delivery date's missing," he said. Clay answered quick, "I will provide copies." Gwen tried to smile. Her fingers fumbled more labels. One slipped to the floor. She bent fast, her hands stiff. Marple's eyes followed. She did not blink. She watched every move. Gwen pressed the label back. She forced it flat. The widow's breath caught. She whispered, "We must pass." Clay smiled thin. "We will pass." His voice edged. The assessors prepared to leave. Satisfied enough. Ledgers full. Clay thanked them warmly. His eyes flicked to the barrels. Marple stood now, her gaze fixed. She pointed once. "Should a wedge sit like that?" Silence struck. All turned. One barrel leaned wrong. The wedge lay reversed, its edge greased dark. It rested the wrong way up. Twine stretched tight. It looped around the hook. The barrel edge pressed close. A knot held firm. Not an amateur's knot. Clay crouched low. He pulled once. The twine hummed. He smiled faint. False calm masked intent. The widow stood aside, her arms folded. She asked, "Is this safe?" Clay nodded quick. Entirely safe. Routine measure. Gwen hovered nearby. She clutched a ledger. Her voice cracked. "Do you need me here?" Clay waved her off. "Go upstairs. Prepare the bottles." Gwen hesitated. She looked at the barrel. The knot gleamed faint. Her lips parted. Clay's eyes hardened. "Go now." She obeyed. Her steps rose fast. The door shut above. Clay straightened. He checked the wedge. Grease lined the edge. He slid it tighter. The barrel shuddered faint. The widow whispered again. "You promised order," Clay replied soft. "I promised control. Trust me." Her eyes dropped. He tugged the knot again. The bowline held. Clean, precise, deliberate. He pressed the twine flat. It vanished behind casks. Marple watched from her chair. Her knitting paused mid-loop. She said nothing. Her eyes studied the floor. Every detail marked. Clay wiped his hands. He checked his pocket watch. "Timing must be perfect," he said. The widow asked, "Timing for what?" He ignored her. The cellar grew tense. Only small sounds carried. Clay tested the twine once more. It tightened sharp. The barrel leaned harder. The widow's fingers tapped. She whispered, "This feels wrong." Clay's tone sharp. "You doubt again? Debt leaves no choice." She fell silent. Marple set her knitting aside. She spoke, level. "A neat knot for a vineyard." Clay's eyes flicked. His smile returned. Fast. "Old habit," he said. "Learned at sea." Marple held his gaze. Her lips closed tight. She said no more. Clay returned to the barrel. He pressed the wedge, shifted the weight. The wood groaned faint. He grinned thin. The widow stepped back. Her hands shook. Her voice low. "You frighten me." Clay ignored her plea. He reached for a valve, turned it slow. A pipe connected beneath. Liquid began to move. He whispered, "Perfect." A faint sound echoed. Drop by drop, water slid into the cask. The weight began to rise. The barrel moaned under strain. The twine snapped. The barrel lurched forward. Wood thundered across stone. The widow screamed. She stumbled back. Clay shouted, "Hold it!" But none moved. The barrel rolled faster. Its weight doubled with water. It crashed against the wedge. The wedge slid free. Metal scraped loud. The barrel swayed wild. One assessor fell sideways. His papers scattered. The widow froze. The cask bore down. Her arm lifted weak. She cried, "Help me!" No one reached her. Clay stayed rooted, his eyes wide. He muttered, "Not now." The words cut short. The barrel struck the rail. It halted sudden. The widow collapsed near it, her breath ragged, her face white. She clutched the floor. Gwen rushed back. She burst through the door. "What happened?" she gasped. She saw the barrel. Her body shook. Clay barked, "Stay away." His voice cracked. Gwen ignored him. She ran to the widow. She pulled her upright. The assessors gathered papers. One stammered, "Unsafe cellar." The other scribbled fast. Clay hissed low, "Say nothing of this." The widow wept softly. She whispered, "It tried to kill me." Gwen clutched her arm. She whispered, "He planned it." Clay glared sharp. Marple rose slowly, her hands calm, her eyes sharp. She said quiet, "Panic clouds truth." Everyone turned. Clay forced a laugh. "A fault in wood, nothing more." The assessors hesitated. They exchanged looks. They said nothing. Gwen pointed. The twine looked there. All turned. The hook still held fiber. A thread of green dangled loose. Clay cut across her. Twine breaks in cellars. His tone firm, his stance rigid. The assessors lowered their eyes. The widow clutched Gwen's hand. Her lips moved. "No accident," she mouthed. Gwen nodded quick. Her eyes burned. Clay adjusted his coat. He gathered his case. He muttered, "Inspection over." But his hand shook. Marple saw it. She walked toward the barrel, slow, steady steps. Her eyes fixed on the hook. She bent low. Her fingers brushed the frame. Silence filled the cellar. All waited. Marple reached closer. She pinched the thread. It tore free. Green fiber clung between her fingers. She studied it close. Her eyes narrowed. She lowered to one knee. She knelt at the hook. "Why this label here?" Marple held the bottle, her voice steady. Her eyes fixed on Gwen. The room fell silent. Gwen stammered, I placed it." Marple asked, "By whose order?" Gwen lowered her head. "Mr. Clay told me." The widow gasped. Her hand pressed her chest. "You obeyed him?" Her voice shook. Gwen nodded faint. "He said it must look full," Gwen said. "Just numbers. No harm." Marple tapped the glass. Yet numbers led to risk. Gwen's face burned red. Clay stepped forward. "Do not blame the girl." He smiled, thin. She only followed. Marple ignored him. Twist broke the moment. Marple lifted a second bottle. The label peeled. Beneath it, another label. A date from last year. The widow froze. Her lips parted. "You reused bottles?" Gwen whispered. "He made me." She pointed at Clay. Clay cut her off. "Efficient practice. Nothing wrong." Marple's tone sharp. "Forgery is not efficiency." She placed the bottle down. The widow turned on Gwen. "Why not tell me?" Her eyes full of pain. Gwen's voice cracked. "I feared him." Clay's fists clenched. "Enough of this," he barked. But Marple pressed. "You heard more, didn't you?" Gwen shook her head fast. Marple leaned closer. "Think carefully. Every sound matters." Gwen's hands trembled. "I only did the labels." Her eyes darted away. The widow whispered, "Child, speak." Her tone cut deep. Gwen wept. "He said the inspectors could be bought." She shuddered. Clay snapped, "Baseless lies." But Marple's gaze stayed on Gwen. "Details, girl. Small things reveal truth." Gwen drew breath. Her lips moved slow. "I remember a sound," she said. "Not voices, not wood." Her eyes widened. "It was water." She looked at Marple. Marple asked, calm, "Water where it should not be?" Gwen nodded weak. "Yes, a hiss, under the cask." Her words fell heavy. The widow stepped back. Her hand trembled. She whispered. Then he planned more. Her eyes locked on Clay. His smile faded. He called it a rescue. Clay leaned close. "Management is beyond you," he said. His tone sharp. His smile fixed. The widow stiffened. "I have kept it alive," she replied. Clay waved a hand. "Alive? Or bleeding debt?" He spread papers wide. Taxes unpaid, workers restless, creditors circling. His voice rose. "Each day you sink deeper." The widow whispered, "We endure." Clay cut her off. "Endurance is not survival. Only sale is survival." He tapped the contract. "Sign and rest, or refuse and fall." Gwen bit her lip. She glanced at Marple. Marple said nothing. Her needles clicked once. Clay pressed harder. "You fear collapse. I offer rescue." His eyes glinted. The widow shook her head. "This is my husband's work." Clay replied fast. "And I honor it by saving it." His voice dripped false calm. Gwen whispered, "At what price?" Clay shot her a look. "Price? A fraction. But security forever." He slapped the table. "Decide before debtors decide for you." Twist broke the air. One assessor coughed. He slid a paper out. It bore Clay's signature, and a date before the meeting. The widow's breath caught. "You prepared this earlier?" Clay froze, then forced a smile. "A draft. Nothing more." Gwen muttered, "It proves intent." Clay barked back. "It proves foresight." His knuckles whitened. His jaw set tight. Marple's eyes narrowed. The widow whispered, "You trap me." Clay leaned closer still. "No, I save you." His voice lowered. "But only if you yield." Silence spread. Clay straightened. He smoothed his tie. He turned to Marple. "Even you must see logic." Marple looked down. Her hand moved. She lifted something small. A fragment clung damp. Paper soft, edges torn. She placed it on the table. No one spoke. Gwen gasped. The widow leaned forward. Clay's face drained pale. It was no common knot. Marple held the twine. Her fingers traced the loop, her eyes sharp. "This is a bowline," she said. The widow frowned. "What does that mean?" Marple answered steady. "Only trained hands tie this. It never slips." Her voice was certain. Gwen stepped back. "I never tied knots," she said, her face pale. "I only did labels. Nothing else." Her hands shook. Clay smirked faint. "Twine knots appear anywhere," he said. "Workers tie what they know." Marple shook her head. "Number. This is practice skill." She lifted the fiber. It was set to hold weight, then release clean. She let the loop fall. "It's a sailor's knot, or a rigger's knot." Her tone sharpened. The widow whispered, "Then who here knows?" Her eyes turned to Gwen. Gwen raised her palms. "No, not me." Her voice cracked. Twist broke the silence. An assessor spoke low. "Mr. Clay once worked the docks." The words hung heavy. Gwen gasped aloud. "Clay!" Snapped back quick. "Idle gossip," he said. But Marple leaned closer. "Dock work explains skill, and explains this knot." Her gaze fixed on him. The widow trembled. You set it." Clay forced a laugh. "Absurd. Why would I?" His eyes darted. Marple pressed further. The wedge greased, the barrel filled, the bowline tied. She ticked off each step. Accident built by craft. Her needles clicked once. Gwen whispered, "He told me to leave." Her tears brimmed. "He said, go upstairs." He kept me away. The widow covered her face. Her shoulders shook. Clay barked, "Enough." His voice thundered, "You accuse without proof." Marple's tone stayed calm. "Proof lies in hands." She pointed down. Clay's gloves rested near his case. Leather worn, seams frayed. She picked them up slow. She turned them in her hand. Dark stains showed inside. Grease lined the palms. Not wine. Not dust. A clear mark of guard padding. Evidence plain to see. The widow whispered, "Palm guard stains." Her eyes widened. Gwen gasped again. Clay stepped back fast. His face drained white. Condensation betrayed him. Marple touched the cask. Her fingers pressed the rim. Moisture clung. Drops slid where none should be. "The angels share," she said. "Wine evaporates. Barrels grow lighter." She tapped again. "This one grows heavier." Her eyes narrowed. The widow gasped. "Heavier? Impossible." Marple shook her head. "Not impossible. Engineered." Her voice cut sharp. She pointed at a valve, half hidden near the base. A thin pipe attached. Not for wine, for water. Clay stepped forward. "You imagine too much." Marple ignored him. She turned the valve. A hiss escaped. Clear liquid trickled out. Gwen clutched her chest. "That's no wine," she said. Her voice shook. Her face drained. Marple continued calm. "He filled with water. Weight increased." She held up the fiber. The knot held the trap. The pipe gave it force. Each word precise. The widow staggered back. Her lips trembled. All planned. From the start. Her eyes filled. She whispered, "He meant my ruin." Clay snapped. "Baseless tricks." His tone loud, but his eyes darted. Sweat lined his brow. His fists clenched. Marple stepped closer. "Nature takes share. Wine lessens. But you reversed it." She looked at Clay. "You turned loss into weight. You turned trade into weapon." Silence followed. The assessors shifted. One scribbled notes. The other stared at Clay. His mouth opened, then closed. He said nothing. Gwen whispered, "He bribed them too." Her words cut. The widow shook her head, her voice low. "I trusted him." Clay slammed his fist. "Trust is weakness." His teeth bared. "You were drowning. I offered rope." His chest heaved. Marple held her ground. Rope knotted to strangle. Her tone steady, her eyes cold. Clay sneered back. The widow sobbed, "You killed my vineyard." Her voice cracked. You killed me. Her hand shook. Clay spread his arms, his voice mocking. All accusation, no proof. He stepped closer to Marple. Prove it in court. Plans never lie. Marple opened Clay's case. Folders stacked neat. One slipped free. Maps unfolded across the table. The widow leaned close. Her breath caught. These are not vineyard charts. Marple nodded once. Number, they are development plans. Clay lunged forward. Private documents, he snapped. Marple held them firm. Her eyes cold. She read the heading aloud. Estate development. Housing plots. Roads marked. The widow gasped. Her knees weakened. You meant to sell before the fall. Her voice cracked. Gwen touched the margin. Dates printed clear. 3 weeks before the barrel test, she said. Her hand shook. Her eyes filled. Clay hissed. Draft work only. He grabbed at the page. Marple pulled it back. She tapped the date again. Drafts are not filed with signatures. The widow's face hardened. You planned my ruin. She pointed at him. You bribed. You forged. You set traps. Her lips quivered. Clay barked. Lies. But his forehead shone. His collar damp. His eyes avoided hers. The papers betrayed him. Marple spread another sheet. Projected revenue from sale. Your name inked bold. The widow read it. Her voice broke. He meant profit on my grief. Gwen whispered. He signed as buyer. Clay turned on her. Ungrateful child, he roared. But his hands shook. His voice cracked. Marple folded the plans. She stacked them calm. She said, quiet. Evidence stands. Your denial cannot erase ink. The assessors exchanged looks. One scribbled furiously. The widow covered her face. Her shoulders trembled. All is kindness. A mask. Her words hung heavy. Her trust shattered. Clay slammed his case shut. He growled. This proves nothing. Marple raised a brow. It proves intent. Intent timed before disaster. Her voice carried. The widow whispered. You sought the land, not me. Her tone flat. Clay stared back. His jaw clenched. He offered no denial. Then a voice came. From the cellar door. A worker stepped in. His eyes narrowed. I saw him that morning. All turned fast. The man pointed. Clay, at dawn, alone in the cellar. His voice steady. The room froze. She wept at last. Gwen's shoulders shook. Tears streaked her cheeks. I did it, she said. Her voice broke. Marple leaned near, her tone calm. What did you do, child? Gwen sobbed harder. I placed the labels. The widow gasped. Her hands gripped tight. You obeyed him? Gwen nodded slow. He forced me. Clay sneered. She exaggerates. But Gwen shook her head. He threatened me. Her voice trembled. Marple pressed. What threat exactly? Gwen swallowed. He said he'd expose my brother. Gambling debts. Prison waiting. Her words spilled fast. The widow stared. You hid this from me? Gwen cried louder. I was scared. Her hands covered her face. Marple touched her arm. Fear makes silence, but silence hides truth. She looked into Gwen's eyes. What else did you see? Gwen's breath quickened. Twist struck. She pulled a crumpled note. It fell from her apron. Marple unfolded it. Written in Clay's hand. Grease Wedge. Deliver night. The widow froze. Her lips trembled. Proof, in his writing. Clay lunged forward. Marple snapped the paper back. Too late, she said, her tone sharp. This ties you tighter. Clay glared. His jaw clenched. Marple turned to Gwen again. Details. Every memory matters. Gwen shivered. I smelled oil. Strong. Not wine. Her eyes darted. She wiped her. Tears. I touched the wedge once. It slipped in my hand. Her voice dropped. Grease covered it. She stared at Clay. The widow whispered, "Grease, twine, water, all his design." Her body trembled. Gwen nodded quick. He wanted the cask to crush. Her words cracked. Clay spat. Fiction. His fists tight. But no one moved for him. All eyes fixed. His mask crumbled. The widow stepped back. Her face pale. Her breath shallow. She whispered low. "Then he meant me dead. Small things matter." Marple laid each item out. Fibre first. Green strand. Pulled from the hook. She held it high. "A planted twine," she said. Set to snap when weight grew. Her eyes scanned the room. No one spoke. She placed it down. Next, the knot. She lifted the loop. Bowline. Clean, deliberate, expert. Her voice steady. Her gaze fixed on Clay. He shifted once, but stayed silent. Marple continued. "This knot released force, not accident." She set it beside the fibre. Grease followed. She unwrapped the wedge. Her finger slid across. Palm stains prove it. Gloves carry same mark. She placed them together. The widow trembled. Her voice low. "You built the fall." Her eyes filled. Clay looked away. Marple held up a label. Fresh ink smudged. Beneath, older date faint. "Forgery layered," she said. Gwen placed it under his order. Gwen wept. I obeyed his threats. She covered her face. Her body shook. Marple's hand rested near her. The widow whispered, "Every step false." Marple answered, "Yes, even water." She tapped the barrel. Condensation gleamed on the rim. Drops clung thick. Wine does not add weight. Nature only takes. But water filled here, forced through pipe. Her tone cut sharp. Clay's jaw tightened. His teeth pressed. He said nothing. Marple gathered the pieces. Fibre, knot, wedge, label, barrel. She lined them neat. "A chain," she said. "Each link, forged by one hand." The widow covered her mouth. Her whisper cracked. "He meant my death." Her eyes fixed on Clay. He stared cold. Gwen murmured, "He set it all." Her voice faint. The assessors nodded. One scribbled more notes. The other avoided Clay's glare. Marple folded her hands. She spoke slow. "Fraud built cover. Sabotage brought fear. Sale ensured profit." Her gaze narrowed. "All roads lead to you." Clay breathed heavy. He forced a smile. "You tell stories, not truths." But sweat lined his brow, his knuckles strained. A sharp sound broke. The cellar door swung wide. Boots struck the floor. A voice rang clear. "Enough." Inspector Slack stepped in, papers in hand. His eyes hard. He raised the warrant high. Clay froze. Slack's hand closed fast. He gripped Clay's arm. "By warrant, you're under arrest." His voice rang firm. Clay jerked back hard. "Release me," he shouted. His fist swung wide. Slack dodged quick. The papers fluttered. The widow gasped loud. She clung to Gwen, her knees bent weak. "Stop him!" she cried. Gwen trembled. Her lips quivered. Clay shoved the table. Maps spilled to the ground. "Lies, all lies." His eyes wild. His teeth bared. Slack forced him down. Clay twisted sharp. The chair toppled. The widow flinched back. Her heart pounded. Marple spoke calm. "Fighting proves guilt." Clay spat back. "Your tricks won't hold." But his wrists strained. Gwen cried out. Her voice cracked. "Don't hurt her again." She shielded the widow. Her body shook. Slack tightened grip. "Stand down, Clay." Clay shoved once more. His coat ripped. The gloves spilled out. The widow's eyes widened. She pointed fast. More stains. "Proof again!" Clay roared loud. "Enough of this!" Twist struck sudden. A small valve clattered loose. It rolled from his pocket, metal thin, threads wet with water. Marple bent low. She lifted it calm. "Another piece," she said, her tone cut sharp. "Designed for flow." Clay lunged again. Slack blocked him. Steel cuffs flashed. They locked tight. Clay groaned deep. The widow whispered, "Justice comes." Her eyes wet. Gwen held her hand, her breath short, her fingers cold. Clay still sneered, his voice low. "You think it ends?" He glared at them, his jaw stiff. Marple folded the valve. She placed it near the wedge. "More proof," she said, her gaze steady. Slack nodded once, but Clay laughed, a harsh sound. "You fools chase shadows." His eyes burned. His words hissed. The room froze. He leaned forward. His voice rose. "You'll never find the second pipe." Silence fell hard. The floor rang hollow. Marple tapped her cane. The sound echoed sharp. She pressed again. The tone shifted. Slack crouched low. He scraped the board. Wood lifted easy. Beneath lay piping. Hidden, slick, damp. Marple's eyes narrowed. "A second feed," she said, her voice calm. Her hand traced the line. It ran under another barrel. Gwen gasped. "So he planned two." Her lips shook, her eyes wide. She clutched the widow's arm. Clay snarled. "Fabrications, all fabrications." His voice cracked. His body jerked. Slack pushed him down. Marple held the pipe. Water dripped slow. "Designed to flood this cask," she said. Her tone clipped, her gaze cold. The widow shuddered, her voice faint. One trap was not enough? She stepped back, weak. Her hand trembled. Twist struck here. Marple pulled a small tag. It dangled from the pipe's joint, stamped initials clear. "MC," etched in black. The widow gasped. His mark, his hand. Gwen covered her mouth. Her body shook. Slack's grip tightened. Clay thrashed wild. "You planted it," he roared. Marple shook her head. "Truth plants itself." Her words cut sharp. She lifted the pipe high. Water streaked her palm. This was set for second collapse. Proof of full intent. Her voice rang steady. No one doubted. The assessors paled. One muttered, "Calculated murder." The other wrote quick. Their pens scratched fast. Their eyes avoided Clay. Gwen whispered, "He would have killed again." Her tears fell. The widow clutched her chest. Her face drained white. Her breath faltered. Clay spat rage. "You twist everything." But his voice failed. His strength sagged. His fight dimmed. Marple laid the pipe down. She lined it with fiber and wedge. "A second chain," she said. Every link his own. Her eyes did not leave him. Slack hauled Clay upright. Steel cuffs bit tighter. "You face double charge," he said. His voice firm. Clay sagged heavy. The widow wailed sudden. Her cry tore the air. "He meant me gone," she sobbed. Her hands shook. "He meant to crush me twice. Justice is never simple." The widow sat silent, her eyes empty. Her hands clasped tight. She whispered, "All lost." Gwen stood beside her. Her face streaked. "I obeyed fear," she said. Her voice small, her body tense. Marple looked at Gwen. "You bent, but you confessed." Her tone steady. "Truth weighs heavy, but truth redeems." Gwen lowered her head. Slack dragged Clay forward, his wrists chained. He spat curses. His eyes burned, but his steps faltered. The widow turned away. She could not watch. Her chest rose shallow. Her lips moved faint. He destroyed everything. Marple folded her needles. She spoke calm. He sought land, not loyalty. Profit, not people. Her gaze rested on the widow. Her eyes softened. The assessors packed their notes. Their pens clicked shut. They said little. They carried proof. They left quick. Gwen trembled still. Her words cracked. I am guilty too. Marple shook her head. Fear was used against you. The widow's voice quivered. You will leave me, won't you? Gwen clutched her hand. Number, I will stay. Her tears returned. Clay jerked once more. Slack shoved him firm. Clay growled deep. This village rots, he hissed. His face twisted. Marple did not flinch. She spoke low. Greed always rots the hand first. Clay snarled back, but no words followed. The widow closed her eyes. I wanted only survival. Her shoulders sagged. Her voice cracked. But I paid with trust, Gwen whispered. We rebuild. Her tone faint. The widow squeezed her hand. Her head bowed low. She said nothing more. Slack pulled Clay to the door. The chains rattled loud. His boots scraped rough. He vanished into the night. The sound faded. Marple remained seated. Her gaze fell on the table. Fiber, knot, wedge, pipe. All silent now, but each told truth. She sighed soft. Small signs, always enough. Her voice tired. Her hands folded calm. Her eyes lowered. The widow rose slow. She touched Marple's arm. Thank you, she said. Her words thin, her face hollow. Marple nodded once. No thanks needed, only truth. She stood, her steps steady, her eyes firm. Hours passed quiet. The house nearly still. Marple sat alone, her thoughts heavy, her mind sharp. A sound stirred. Paper slid across wood. She looked down. A folded note rested. It read, Another debt remains.